Welcome back to this episode of the Football Pundits, everyone. And this is fourth episode in our series of season previews. And this one is about Liverpool FC. We have two Liverpool fans with us today, Nidhi and Sriram. I've personally had the pleasure of knowing them for almost a decade now. So does Kern. And we're going to get straight into this episode, guys. Title after 30 years. Something that you both have been dreaming about as Liverpool fans. You all finally got to see it happen. Quickly, both of you tell me about your feelings. Nidhi first and then Sriram. And then we'll go into this season and what you expect.
Right. Okay, so speaking about the title first, well, this used to be, like you said, a decade back. So this was 2010. Roy Hodgson used to be the manager. Top four used to be a pipe dream. We all remember the time of, the horror signings and the Europa League defeats to Northampton Town and all. So, yeah, I mean, we've come an extremely long way. There was an administration angle in between. The club got sold. And then, Kenny came in and then Brendan Rodgers and then finally Klopp. So it almost feels surreal because, we were nowhere in the reckoning, nowhere on the reckoning when it comes to, things like titles. We used to dream about getting into Europe. That used to be a dream. Yeah. From there to wrapping up the title, so early, of course, there was this whole, virus scare in the between. And, finally that got sorted and the title came in. So, yeah, I mean, if I have to put it in one word, it's almost unbelievable. As easily we won the title, like almost on a canter. But if you put a 10-year lens on it, or even a 20-25-year lens on it, it almost feels surreal because we never thought that we would win the title one day with such ease. I mean, the belief was always there, but given Liverpool's history, I thought it would be a lot more dramatic.
Sriram, he said it correctly. With the whole COVID pandemic that we still find ourselves in, it was almost biblical towards the end of it, right? Will they? Won't they? Will they? Won't they? But you know what? It happened. So, how proud are you of Jurgen Klopp? And once you're done talking, you can continue and tell me what is Klopp's plan. Clearly, it's a plan Klopp came with 4 years back.
So I was almost convinced we're not going to win it. And I was like, it's just not meant to be, right? Because there was always something that kept us from winning the title, no matter how close we were. So there was the Gerrard slip, which we still made fun of, right? We've all been told that so many times about when Steven Gerrard actually slipped. And it wasn't as if he made a mistake. He actually slipped. It wasn't like he gave a back pass or something happened. He slipped, and
it wasn't a metaphor
for us. I know, right? So it was just so. I mean, we were just so nervous throughout, and so we were like, Nidhi and I were talking even earlier, which is none of the Liverpool supporters that we knew were celebrating, even when the whole pandemic happened. Even when we knew that it's almost improbable now that it's not possible that someone's going to beat us. But we were always like, don't count on this yet. They're going to probably do this null and void thing and we may not win. So yeah, when we actually won, and even when we won, even when the season restarted, we were like, let's not celebrate yet. So I think it sunk in when Chelsea beat City. That's when we were like, okay, now it's mathematically impossible for us to not win. This is it. And when that trophy was lifted, man, it was like, for all of us, it was 2 decades worth of whatever burden we were carrying, all the jokes, all the mockery that we went through. I think everything was just, it was totally worth it, man. It was just crazy.
Yeah. Okay. So, I'll switch it up a bit before, I come back to both of you. So, let's move on to now Liverpool this season. As a rival fan, you looked at Jurgen Klopp, you've seen that, like I asked Sriram, there clearly was a plan which a lot of other fans and a lot of other clubs did not see coming, right? Clearly, as a way of working, you've seen it with Dortmund and you saw it now with Liverpool. Right off the bat, what do you think of looking at Liverpool this season and Jurgen Klopp?
Yeah, man, as a rival fan, honestly, I'm kind of jealous of the rebuild that Klopp has been allowed to do at Liverpool. And I'm saying allowed to do because even as a United fan, when Ole came in the first, after he had that great patch, he became permanent. And even just within those few weeks after, people were like, you know what, get him out of here. Till December last season, people like, get him out of here. They weren't seeing that he was playing with Lingard and Pereira and the likes at his disposal in the front. They weren't seeing the changes that he's actually trying to make at the back, getting rid of players. Their mind was just the instant result, get him out of here. And I kept seeing, which is
Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp, they got that time from each other. It was a mutual understanding.
Yeah, exactly. And I kept saying to other fans, and it pained me to say this about Liverpool because everyone knows it's very difficult for me to say good things about Liverpool. That's just how the rivalry is. But I kept saying, dude, look at what Liverpool and Klopp have done. First season, he finished 8th, then 4, then 4. But look at what that has helped them be where they are now. Getting in the right signings. It wasn't just about going out there and signing anyone and everyone. It was about getting the people who he wanted to get in and play his system. And again, just linking as a rival fan and someone who wants to see that at their club, I see that happening at United now with the likes of Bruno's and everyone coming in. But just looking at Liverpool, it's great that they've been allowed to do that. And which is why I'm coming that allowed to do it. The club let them do it, the fans let them do it, and Klopp could do it. This also comes in a factor. FSG said that this is only how we will function.
Correct.
They also didn't say that, you know what, we're not going to let you go out there and spend whatever. Yes, they did spend on the likes of Van Dijk and stuff. But it's not like they're doing what Chelsea are doing right now this season and just buying 8 players at a go, right?
Right.
So while Liverpool have been allowed to spend, it's been in a manner that's added to a team and not just been marquee signing. So I think that whole structure coming in together as a club is great.
Yeah.
I'm going to come on later at a point where I think it might still harm them this season. But for now, on a larger picture, I think it's
interesting.
What they've done so
because
far.
Nidhi, that's the thing we were going to go to next, right? We've all spoken about, look, this was clearly Klopp's plan. He's a guy who likes to build his teams in a certain way, not because the club has money or doesn't have money. It's how he sees value in players, which he wants to train. He has a personal touch now. We've seen it for a decade. But like Kern mentioned, and that's something I want to ask you guys. Yes, FSG has been someone who's not been very liberal with spending. Do you think this season, looking at the way the rivals are strengthening, City will be hurting, Pep will be hurting, do you fear that with an injury or two to your, and we spoke about this last year, and by we I mean rival fans, right? It didn't happen, great for you guys, you all saw it through. But, luck doesn't work that way, right? And what if the worst happens and you lose 2 of your front 3, all right? Do you think you might be able to, you might slip out all the way to the top 4? Do you fear the worst?
Look, there are 2 aspects to this. One is FSG. Now, FSG, the kind of owners they are not like, a lot of other owners in the Premier League. For example, if I take the example of Manchester United, now you guys are stuck with really bad owners, right? Now, but however, the kind of owners FSG are, they've said that from the beginning, like the club is going to be self-sufficient. Even the major buys in the last 2-3 years, which are Van Dijk and Alisson, they literally came in because, Coutinho went out for a lot of money, right? And, with the match day revenue taking a hit and, there are other operational expenses, they have clearly said that it is not going to be, a big spending day in this summer for Liverpool. And frankly, it wasn't that in last year as well. I mean, last year we had one major signing coming in, and that was Minamino for 8 million. That's about it. Now, from an FSG perspective, it is what it is, right? We can argue back and forth, and okay, this has its benefits as well as it has its negatives. Now, but coming to your other point about injuries, see, I'm not so worried about injuries to the front line because I think Klopp has shown that there is a certain amount of flexibility there. There is Origi, who's definitely matured. Harvey Elliott, although extremely young, but he can fill in for a few games. There is Minamino. There are certain players that can do the job. What I'm worried about is an injury in the back line. For example, if for some reason Van Dijk gets injured, then we are back to a very, very weak backline. For example, now how much ever fun we make of Dejan Lovren, the fact is the guy used to play 10-12 games every season, and he used to put out of 10 games, 7 games he was solid, not very flashy. We haven't replaced him, right? as good as Matip is, and as good as Gomez is as a young player, Matip is extremely injury prone, right? So if you were to ask me, and if Gomez goes into the back line, then we are back to just one player at right back, which is Alexander Arnold, right? Which was the situation at left back, which has now been strengthened a little bit with Simikas coming in. I think the front line is still okay. We can still, make some changes. There is Shaqiri available. There is Minamino. There is Origi. But the back line, I think we should definitely strengthen. If not, getting a very flashy player, then maybe, some
Yeah.
young kid or someone like a experienced player coming in.
Yeah. So Sriram, I'm going to come to you now. Nidhi laid it off perfectly, right? So do you agree with Nidhi when he talks about that as a squad you're still okay, or do you have your fears about maybe this year you'll not be able to compete for the title the way you have the past 2 seasons? I'm not saying that you're not title favorites or that you will have an abysmal and go to the eighth or something. Yeah, but top four has become competitive, right? So what do you think about that? And Kern, counter immediately after he speaks.
So I agree to a point. I mean, I think what he's saying makes complete sense on the centre back issue, right? Because we don't have enough cover at centre back, right? I still think right back we're good because we have Alexander Arnold and we also have this kid called Nico Williams who's coming up, who I think is a good, able deputy in case Alexander Arnold gets injured. So again, the key of Alexander Arnold and Robertson is really, really difficult to replace with the same level, but they're able backups. I think they should be able to provide enough, enough cover there. The challenge I feel is, I think we need Thiago, man. We really, really need Thiago because if you look at our team right now, all the creativity comes from the fullbacks, right? Liverpool as a team is set up to actually get the fullbacks really upfield, cross the ball in, and our front three is really, really good at making movements, and that's where most of our creativity comes from. So even today, you could probably do without even Salah / Mane in a few games, because if you look at the Barcelona game that we won 4-0, there was no Salah, there was no Firmino.
Correct.
Right? And we still won 4-0 at Anfield.
So you're not worried that there is a drop in quality when your starters are not there to the bench. You don't think there's a big drop in quality?
Not in the attacking trio. I think Minamino, my prediction for Minamino is he's going to be a really, really different player. And for people who've not heard of him, they're in for a sub, because whoever's seen him in preseason, he's some player, dude. He's got a few. I think Klopp has some tricks up his sleeve.
I can see, but Kern is itching to counter, but just let him finish. Yeah, I know he's waiting to say something. Yeah.
So I think Minamino is one, and the other guy who I'm going to make a bold prediction about here is Naby Keita. I think he is another really, really good player. He's a fine player who had a really good close of season. Right. The only trouble with him is he's injury prone, so hopefully he stays fit. But I think we need Thiago because you have Fabinho, we have Gini, and I hope, again, I'm not one of those who feels that Gini needs to go out and Thiago needs to come in. If I had my way, I'd keep both. But I think Thiago coming in, and you need that creativity against low block defense.
That's where, I was going to rope you
in. I think he'll go with a 4-2-3.
Yeah, that's what I was going to tell you.
It's going to be a 4-2-3-1. Yeah, it's going to be a 4-2-3-1, right? Last season, we were all 4-3-3. I think next season, you'll see a lot of 4-2-3-1. If Thiago comes in, I think he will be one of those holding players who plays either with a Henderson or a Fabinho. And then you're going to have Minamino in that hole behind the front, the front two, which would probably be Salah and I think Firmino. And Mane and Minamino will play in that hole. So I think that would be a really
you've given us the lineup, right? And that's something we're going to cover with Kern. But, since he's already given us the lineup and you've given us a bit of the transfer peak, Kern, you've seen Wijnaldum play. These guys have seen Wijnaldum play. He might be on his way to Barcelona for the Koeman project, like we're hearing from Fabrizio Romano. Do you think that Liverpool, with the signing of Tsimikas and Thiago Alcantara, might pretty much be the same next year? No need to look into it too much. They might just be competitive again. I mean, essentially, they're not losing anybody. They're replacing him immediately.
So clearly, these two guys are happy with their squad. Right? So, I mean, for me as an outsider, there's not much I can say when Liverpool fans are happy. And largely even on Twitter, it's been the thing. I've tried to sort of egg and probe a couple of Liverpool fans. All of them seem happy with the squad they have. But I also think, and I'm totally being devil's advocate here, uh, it's for me as an outsider, if I'm just putting myself in the shoes as a Liverpool fan, if for 1 second I had to wear those horrible shoes and be a Liverpool fan.
They're good
uh,
shoes right now, man.
Right now, you do a lot. You give a lot to be in those shoes.
so if I am putting myself in the shoes, Annie, I would honestly want to be a little spoiled and be like, you know what, back Jurgen Klopp a little more, FSG, come on. Uh, obviously the numbers that they're seeing right now and, the increase in income, winnings, this, that, Champions League finals, all that extra money that's coming in is because of Klopp. And while
Correct.
Klopp obviously in the pressers has to say that I'm happy with FSG, I knew what
Yep.
the system was, this, that, there has to be, dude, I'm not believing for 1 second that he does not want more signings. He has
Correct.
to, especially when he sees the likes of City reinforcing like that, Chelsea reinforcing like that. Klopp definitely wants more. And if I am a Liverpool fan, if I am Jurgen Klopp, I am saying that FSG, dude, come on, I have given it to you on your terms. Cut me some slack. Give me Timo
No,
Werner.
but
I wanted him. Give me
Exactly. I'm
give
going to
me
interrupt you
Thiago. It's
there.
30 million.
I can interrupt you
Thiago,
there.
30
You
million.
have
Close it.
essentially let a top four side who just struggled to get into the top four, Chelsea, who would have either way had, let's say, Havertz and Ziyech next season, get that final piece in Werner. If you were ruthless enough, like unfortunately the Premier League has become, Everton is spending money now, guys. Other side of Merseyside is spending money. You need to give that money and get in that player, right? Because that's where sometimes I feel the
No,
Premier
but
League.
Animesh,
I know.
Klopp's
no,
never,
but Animesh,
Klopp's never going to be the player. He's never going to be the manager who's going to be spending 50 million for a bench player. He's never going to do that. I mean, even if
See,
he
My
had the
point in
money,
this is,
he would
my
not
only
do
thing
it.
and
with
and
this,
Everton have always spent money. They got Sigurdsson for 50 million. I mean, fine. I mean, I get your point about the other rivals. In fact, one of the things this season and where Sriram is also coming from, we have to make some changes because we cannot keep playing the same way. Okay, the fullbacks will go forward and the midfielders will do the majority of the work, and that's where the creativity and goals will come from. We have to make some changes, and I agree we do need Thiago. But speaking of some other teams, see the problem with Chelsea, not the problem, but one of the things that will hit Chelsea is last season they had the element of surprise. They had the advantage of low expectations. Frank Lampard has come in, not a lot of experience. He
Absolutely.
doesn't have a lot of transfers backing him, and we know what kind of owners Chelsea have. They will expect a lot. And Frank Lampard's also going to be up against some real pros this time. There's Klopp, there is Pep, there is Mourinho, right? People just don't talk about Spurs. I think they are going to be a big part of the equation, especially if you are not talking about the top four.
So yeah,
I
for me,
agree,
the
man.
point
I
with
think
Thiago basically
expectations.
was,
Yeah.
for me, the point with
Go ahead,
Thiago was
Karan.
basically just that, he's at 30 million. He wanted to come to Liverpool. Liverpool wanted him. It's 30 million. Now, suddenly, there's this thing where United can take over that bid on, which one to I hate. Why we always,
let's
have this
not.
random leg in everything. But the point being, why can't we just, if I was a Liverpool fan, just close it out, man. 30 million, both want it. Value for a
I
player. I'm
think
not
it's
saying make the 70 million signings.
I
Thiago, come
think
on.
I think I
Just
think
clock
what's
that
hap-
down.
I think we can all agree one thing that look, end of the day, it's something we said in the start and we're saying it again. This was Jurgen Klopp's plan. He's okay with this. If he wasn't okay with it, he's the kind of guy who speaks out his mind eventually and leaves, right? Um, so the way I see it is that I don't think there's probably an impasse, right? We as arrivals see it differently from outside. Like Ernst said, you'll be a devil's advocate because we himself has said it in the Chelsea preview that look, there is all the pressure on Frank Lampard on next season. He's whatever you can talk about net spends and blah blah blah. He's got the backing by the top. Chelsea are a chop and change club, and Chelsea will not be thinking about it twice if they have to sack the club legend as well. It won't cross their mind. So knowing all of this, Kern, quickly give me your prediction for Liverpool for this season, then Nidhi, and then Sriram, and then we'll wrap up after that.
For me, it's more of a visual thinking. I'm saying fourth. I see the thin
What about the
squad
Champions
being
League?
a problem.
What about the Champions League?
Decent run. I think quarters maybe, but yeah, fourth in the Premier League is what I see.
Nidhi?
I think we'll compete for one trophy. Either the Premier League or the Champions League. I don't know which, but I think we'll be in the contention for one trophy. had we strengthened, we would have challenged on both fronts, which is what I would, have wanted as a Liverpool fan.
So it does worry you that you don't have the side like City to compete on all 4 titles, right? It's not possible.
Yes, absolutely it does. But it is what it is, like I said.
It's very realistic though. And Sriram, talking about realism then and looking at all of this, what do you think?
I would still say top two, man, in the Premier League, because there is no one's talking about us this season again, which is great. After winning the title, if people still don't rate us really high, that's great. But there are a lot of squad players which I'm excited about, and I think this season you're going to see some names emerge from some of our academy, as well as some of the signings that so far have not really done well. I mean, I know one of your videos you guys said that I think Kern was supposed to put Naby Keita as one of the flops of last season. I think next season you're going to make a completely different video about Naby Keita. That's my prediction. Top two, and I would say we'll have a very good run in the Champions League as well. I at least think we should be able to make it to the last four of the Champions League as well, because we have the squad. We don't have the depth as much, but I think Klopp doesn't like a lot of depth anyway. So he should be able to manage with whatever we have. And I don't think he cares about the cups, to be fair. So I don't think Klopp ever plans a season with 4 trophies. I think he only cares about 2. And he's going to just go for those 2. But yeah, the others, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think he really cares about that.
So interesting prediction there by Sriram. A very blunt Liverpool fan opinion as it can be about Jurgen Klopp and his arrogance, which they love. Realistic one there by Nidhi, looking at the squad and still being very hopeful, which I kind of agree with as well. And Kern with his devil's advocate, Giri, like we call it, and hoping for the worst, right? So my honest opinion is that Liverpool will definitely be in the top 4. They might not win the league. I don't think they'll win the league, actually. I think that City's this year with the squad they have, compact playing schedules and pandemic and everything, right? So you never know how things go there. But more on that in our Premier League preview. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us firstly for this episode, Nidhi and Sriram. We really enjoyed having this conversation. We had a first in our pundits history where we lost track of our time and the Zoom call went off. That's what we used to record our calls. But again, thank you so much for joining us, guys. To everyone tuning in at home on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Hit us up on Instagram, hit us up on Twitter. We're happy to engage in the comment section as well. These two guys are very active on Twitter and are happy to engage in a lot of banter. That's what we normally do with each other when we're really bored. So don't forget to also hit likes on all our videos, and we will see you in the next episode, guys.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.